What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Sheer Chaos on Chain of Ascension. Brian, let's hear the Mutation.
Chain of Ascension is the map where we aid Janara as she fights Amon's champion. To support her, each player needs to stand a guy near and push her along the track to the southeast corner. If we push the fight all the way there, we win. But if Amon's forces support their champion and push them all the way to our corner, we lose. Infested spawn from enemy buildings. Enemies, including the infested, move really fast and respawn when they die.
Alright, so we have Tutu and Zero in the call with us today. How are you guys?
Hello.
Great.
Tutu, how do we rank the commanders this week?
Since you can full clear on this map, if your plan is to clear the map as quickly as possible, then you should do so before 20 minutes. And if your commander can do it without much help, then you'll be ranked higher. You also need to be able to defend against infested. And if you can't clear quickly, but you can defend against aberrations, that's also going to give you a higher ranking.
Alright. How about you, Zero?
Like Tutu said, the Outbreak is gonna be the main threat here, but it's also Chain of Ascension, so it already has a lot of enemies, and then there's Just Die on top. So having a commander with a lot of power will also rank you higher.
Hey Tutu, does the ability to fight the bonus with double life and speed freaks help any bit?
No,
No, so just don't do the bonus, right? Right.
there's no need to be there.
There's no need to be there. Alright, let's begin. Abathur, where do we have him?
So Abathur, he has an extremely slow start because of Just Die. So it takes you a while to get enough biomass to do anything meaningful. If you go mass swarm hosts, that's okay, because then you can defend against like the aberrations with your mass swarm hosts. If you're going for the building clearing route, then you will need guardians, or like I guess 3 leviathans can also do quite a lot. Depend if it's an enemy Terran, then you can't, but the middle part you can. But then for other enemies, you can just clear with 3 leviathans. It does take a while, and the 7-minute wave is going to be pretty powerful. So if you don't have like enough stuff by then, they might actually kill you.
Yes.
So yeah, your toxic nests aren't actually, because they're gonna
Revive.
You're gonna need twice the toxic nest because of Just Die. So
Yes.
it's just like a lot worse.
Yes.
I put him in B because the start is really slow. Oh yeah, and Outbreak wastes your toxic nest too.
That is true. Also, Terran in particular is just so bad for Abathur because everything is in bunkers. It's basically impossible to get a Brutalisk before the first wave arrives. So you kind of have to wait on them to give you the biomass. And if it's Sky Terra in particular, you're extra screwed because they don't even land. Especially if your ally is an air unit. Anyway, how about you, Zero?
Yeah, I agree with B tier. Like Tutu said, the 7-minute wave, if it's a difficult comp, will definitely be a problem, because you can't really just cheese it with speed freaks being a thing with Ravagers. But yeah, once you get past the early game, he's just really good. He can either clear or just defend the aberrations with Swarm Hosts.
Yes.
So it's just about reviving until that point, so I think B is fair.
Absolutely. I also have him in B because the early game just absolutely reeks. But once you're past that, as you saw in my video, you're all good. So, Abathur and B. Prestige-wise, do you want the second one or no prestige?
I'd say
Either
P2,
one.
Second one.
but yeah, both can work.
Yeah. I did Abathur, by the way, and I tried against Sky Terran, and I succeeded, but you actually need like a few Devourers to just splash them down effectively, especially Sky Terran. Anyway, let's move on. Alarak, where do we have him?
Alarak, so for Outbreak, I guess he just leaves a few units at home, like either destroyers, so like stalkers or robo units, and he tries to full clear with like Mothership. For pushing into like the big bases that have a lot of AoE, yeah, you're gonna have to be really careful. But yeah, you're just gonna leave those for the end after you clear all the rest. So then you'll have like not overcharge and power B, and then all your units there, and that should do it without too many losses. His early game's no problem. He has a good hero unit that can either defend or just help you push, and it's really good good for defending the early waves on Chain of Ascension.
Yes.
Yeah, he can also defend the first Outbreak relatively easily with Overcharge, so
Kind
you
of a
won't
waste, though.
really, yeah, I mean, you can't really get much else.
Yeah, that's true. Just feels like kind of a
Yeah.
waste. Anyway,
He
letter.
plays really fast, but can't defend. I have him like B or A.
B or A. How about you, Tutu?
Alarak's gonna be very hard to control, especially if you split into multiple groups. You can't use your F2. So if you're an F2 player, that's really hard. If you're fighting Zerg, there are 6 Vipers on the map, and they will have 2 lives. They will parasite your mothership. Oh, not parasite. The
Parasitic bomb.
parasitic bomb the mothership, and it hurts a lot. Like
Yes.
even if the mothership is the only one, they're gonna cast it several times. So it's like it's quite hard. Against Outbreak, you can defend it with like 3 destroyers, a Havoc, and 2 supplicants to tank. It's like that's good enough for each base. Clearing is kind of, I guess you can mothership plus destroyers, but you got to be very careful about doing so.
Because of Vipers.
Yeah, even if it's not Vipers, like you would need to be careful because if it's Terran, like they have 2 lives and stuff, they have battle cruisers and they hurt.
I think your
So,
categories.
Yeah, I put him in B.
B. All right. Both of you agree with B. I think that's also where I would put him. B sounds fine. Let's put Alarak in B. The annoying thing, you did touch on this. The really annoying thing about spellcasters is when they revive, they get full energy. So like they get twice the number of irradiates, twice the number of seeker missiles, twice the number of abducts, parasitic bombs, disabling clouds, storms, all that fun stuff. So very fun for Amon. Let's move on. Arcturus, where do we have him?
So for Manx, he has ESOs, so those are good. However, they don't reach very far. They don't reach the entire map, so you actually need to put a second group of ESOs in a forward position to clear the other side of the map. The best spot for that would be the little encampment at like 4 o'clock where there's just buildings but no enemies. You drop some troopers there and then you clear, and then you put ESOs in that spot, and then you clear the right side. If the enemy doesn't get hit by ESOs because they're air, then you'll need to drop. You'll either need to contaminated strike them or use Thurg, and so that means like your mandate management has to be pretty good. You have to generate enough. Also, because he has a lot of ESOs, they're gonna get attacked from different angles because the infested go after buildings, and so. Yeah, and he has bunkers, but some enemies will just wreck your bunkers. So it kind of depends how your allies helping you. I would say that he's still pretty good because he can clear the map pretty easily, especially with help. So
Yes.
Oh yeah, and his defense against Outbreak is pretty good.
Pretty
so
solid.
I put him in A.
A. Okay. Before we move on, Zeus around 7:55. Tutu mentions an area around 4 o'clock where you can put down Earth Splitters. I think you'll have to ask Tutu for a screenshot of where that area exactly is, because normal people don't know where 4 o'clock is, because normal people use a digital watch. I use an analog watch, so I know where 4 o'clock is, but people these days,
Really,
like
people can't tell.
Gen Z, don't use analog clocks, so they don't know where 4 o'clock is. So, Tutu, please send Zeus a screenshot of the area, and then 7:55, around 7:55, just overlay that photo in. Anyway, how about you, Zero?
Yeah, so you're using ESO here is gonna be very awkward, I guess. Like it normally is on Chain of Ascension. I guess you're just gonna have to like leapfrog with them while setting up bunkers beforehand. His outbreak defense is actually really good. Later on, you can get tanks, and if it gets to aberrations, which I mean, if you're using your ESO properly, it shouldn't. But I believe once the aberrations gets shot by a tank and stunned, it just stands there. It doesn't move forward, so you're effectively just one-shotting the just die aberrations, which is very nice.
It's very nice.
Yeah, his early game can be somewhat tight, especially if it's a difficult comp. Your bunkers may get overwhelmed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
That's a big issue I can think of. Yeah, and I don't expect people to land their contaminated strikes,
Especially with
on
speed
this
freaks.
map with speed freaks. Yeah, Yeah, I guess you're just gonna have to like play it safe. You're not really in a rush or in anything. You're just gonna play it safe. Make sure your BSO are defended, and then just slowly clear the map. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but I think he's still A tier.
You think he's still A tier? Okay. Both of you have been A. Let's put Arcturus in A. Prestige-wise, you want the third one?
3 or 1.
3 or
Both are
1.
good.
All right, let's move on. Artanis, where do we have him?
Artanis. This guy, he's not good. Yeah,
There,
Outbreak.
careful. There's always one guy in the comments who says, "But Artanis is the easiest commander. You just A move, you're strong dragoons, and on normal difficulty, you win without any problems."
So once you get to 20 minutes, you're gonna be taking a lot of losses from Outbreak.
Yes.
And you most likely are gonna get to 20 minutes because this guy does not have clearing power.
Absolutely.
Even the random infested, like the light ones, they're light, so they're not gonna be taking bonus from your dragoons. So what? Dragoons are gonna have like 10 DPS. Dragoon DPS against the non-armored is lower than Abathur Locust, so they're not gonna be killing those
Yeah.
guys very quickly.
Yes.
His top bar is good, but you don't have infinite energy, so you can't use it everywhere.
I tried.
He's just
I tried my hardest to use it everywhere. It
I
did
have
kind
him
of
in
work.
D tier.
E
He's just
tier?
not very good.
Wait. E tier? That's really
D.
low. Oh, D tier. Okay. How about you, Tutu?
He is bad against Just Die. So with a hard enemy comp, he's even worse.
Yes.
He is bad against Outbreak because his static defense is bad. His units that defend against like infested aren't really good either. His clearing speed is terrible. So if you go Tempest to clear it, it works, but you're gonna be met with like the infested marines that spawn, and they're faster than you, so you're gonna have to
Yes.
stop and fight them. And
Yes.
you shoot very slowly, so you're gonna waste a lot of shots on them.
On
They're gonna
Marines.
get up to your face because they get to run.
That's very
fast.
sad. Yes.
So Tempest suck. He's not gonna be contributing a lot. I put him in D.
D. Okay. I also put him in D. That's right about where he is. The one guy suggested Immortals, but they're also expensive. And they're not that good. I mean, they're good, but like not 4 supply good. Maybe if there was 3 supply, they would be better. But like they consume too much of your precious army space to be that effective. What do you think? What do you guys say about a supply buff for Immortals? Make them 3 supply instead of 4 supply. Would they be much better?
I'm not opposed to it, but the thing is, Immortals aren't terrible necessarily. People have been trying them on Dead of Night, and apparently it works decently well.
I'm one of those
so it
people.
might work here.
Yeah, I think
I haven't tried it myself.
So that doesn't do anything because Artanis doesn't have a supply problem. He never maxes out anyways, like hardly.
Wait, I guess if you're that aggressive, you never max out. But like, I do max out from time to time as Artanis, and I believe that with less supply mortals, it would help. But what do you think would help if not immortal buff? Zealot buff?
I don't really think about these kinds of changes, but like I just know that the immortal buff won't do much. Because if you can max out, it doesn't really matter that you have like 3 fewer immortals or 3 fewer units. Because if you're maxed out and starting to bank money, it's probably not very difficult, and you probably already won. And if it's difficult, you're not gonna max out. So the supply, because for other commanders, you have to build supply depots and stuff. He doesn't have to, so it doesn't really affect him.
You say that, yet I distinctly remember a run we had on Growing Threat. I did max out as Artanis, and then I went down to like 90 supply. Because like the tide can change very quickly against some mutators, so I guess maybe not for this one, but on other ones I do think it might help. Anyway, let's move on. Dehaka, where do we have him?
Dehaka has good he has good defense against even aberrations because impalers are really good. You just put like 6 of them and then they'll
6 of them.
deal tons of damage.
That's a lot.
A lot
6 of them in every spot, or just 6 of them spread out?
in 2 bases.
All right,
1
2
at each
bases.
base.
Expansion or main?
Both.
So
Well, yeah,
So 12.
12 impalers, 6 at each one. Though that's only for aberrations. Like before aberrations, you don't even need that many. If you're gonna clear like if you're able to clear quickly, you don't need that many. You just need like 1 or 2.
Yeah, I was
And
thinking.
if you're gonna
I had a run with
if you're gonna
Abathur.
reach
Oh, sorry.
aberrations, yeah.
I had a run with the Dehaka, and it was just easier to just destroy all the buildings before 20 minutes because Dehaka does have that firepower.
Yeah. Easier if someone's helping you clear buildings.
Absolutely.
But just saying, like in the worst case scenario, he can still deal with aberrations pretty well. His clearing power is pretty good. His early game, the first wave is kind of hard because
He
when the
doesn't
first
have
wave
anything.
hits, you have nothing except Dehaka
And you need to devour
and
twice.
one impaler
Yes.
and one impaler and an uprooted warden or two. That's about it. So you can actually like die there on the first wave depending on what enemy you're fighting.
When
Uh, yeah.
when do you take your expansion against Terran?
The general rule for this mutation is you take your expansion when you can defend it against Outbreak as well, like Infested Marines.
Yeah.
Because
So
if
when
you
you
rush
have
your
worms.
expo without any defense, you're gonna lose it.
So basically, when you have worms, primal worms,
Primal Worms, you need
or impalers.
Primal Worms, one Primal Worm and one Impaler at least.
Okay.
Then-
So right around Glevig time. All right. So how about you? Sorry, letter
Oh, I put him in B.
B. B. Okay. B. How about you, Zero?
I have him in A tier personally. He clears decently well. He can hold aberrations like Tutu said. He doesn't really have an issue against stronger enemies because he has pack leaders for his units. Of course, after you get the impalers for defense, you can just go like swarm hosts and then clear stuff from the safety of your base.
Right?
While also clearing another side with pack leaders. Yeah, I think he's good. I definitely don't think he's B. I have an A.
Why not A to two?
I think he dies to the first wave. So he
So
doesn't.
just the
He
first
can die
wave.
to the first wave,
I guess that's
and he can
true.
also can't really farm.
That's true.
But after that, he's like okay. He's like okay against later on, but the first wave is gonna kill him. Like you have only Dehaka and one Impaler.
What if you have
and
two Hakas?
If you have two Hakas, then I mean you can. Then the rest of your game will be harder because you don't have 8,000 HP top bars, like 6,000 HP.
That's
pack
true.
leaders.
That's true. You don't have tens of thousands of HP to do that with. But that being said, well, the reason he wasn't A for you is because of the early game. So I figured the early game must be the issue here. So if you're able to address the early game, then surely he must be A tier, right?
I think he's all right. Yeah, I guess. His clearing, I guess it depends how you manage. The
Yeah,
pack
how
leaders.
aggressive you are, how well you manage the pack eaters. But you were the one who said that even if he doesn't clear by 20 minutes, he can still just have impalers and be fine.
Yeah, I think he'll die before the first wave. By the first wave. Because the last time I tried this, I couldn't pass the first wave. I couldn't do
Interesting.
it. And then this time I did it because I got better. But like the last time around, I couldn't pass the first wave.
So
I
the-
kept dying.
So the first wave, I do recognize that the first wave is legit difficult. I tried many times. First wave is very difficult with just die and speed freaks. You have less time to prepare, and you have basically two waves to defeat. And there's that little annoying downtime, like this little gap between when you dies for the first time and when it gets revived. That it's kind of basically invulnerable. It's really annoying that you can't just delete them all. I think yeah. Which prestige did you use for the first wave? Use the second one, right?
Two.
But have you
Two.
tried the first prestige? Or sorry, the third prestige against that?
I haven't tried it
Hmm.
because
Might be better because late game isn't an issue anyway. Once you get like your defenses set up and the creepers.
I beat it this time in one try because I know what to do now. I mean, I can play better, but before I couldn't do it.
All right.
I remember it was against classic infantry, and I couldn't. They kept killing me.
Yeah, Terran
Like,
is just bad, just really bad. You can't farm anything. If it's against Protoss or Zerg, do you think you might have fared better?
Zerg maybe because you can just jump on the links
Yeah.
easily.
Especially if you have two
I don't-
Hakas.
Yeah,
I think two
I don't-
Hakas is the key here.
I don't have a strong opposition to A.
Well,
I don't think he clears as easily as some of the other A's, but I think he's still pretty good because the just die part is the enemy comp is less of a factor. So I guess that's really good.
well, we can put
for
him bottom of A if anything, or top of B. We can put him A for now, and then just decide later if
Okay.
he's bottom of A or top of B. That should be fine.
Sounds fine.
Sounds right. All right, let's move on. Phoenix, where do we have him?
Phoenix, so this guy won't have a problem slapping things at least.
Yes,
Yeah.
he slaps things with
So-
iron fists.
Yeah, his defense may be slightly of a problem, especially if you're P2, just because you're gonna have to rely either like leave a champion at your base or just shells. His clearing is actually really good. He doesn't care if he loses his units, and he just has a lot of DPS, so you can either like full clear or just I guess rush the mission.
Yes.
Both kind of work fine. Even if it's air, I don't think he'll struggle here because the enemies aren't that much stronger, only twice as strong, and he has a lot of power. Yeah, I have him in A tier personally.
Now that you mention it, though, the second wave, the 7-minute wave, if it's air, it will be an issue.
Will it? You have Dragoon Suit, and you'll probably have Mojo and a decent amount of shells.
By 7 minutes, yeah, maybe.
No, not at all.
Yeah, what do you think, Tutu?
At 7 minutes, even on P2, I had Klarian, Warbringer, and Taldarin
Talus.
and Caldalis. So I have 4 of them, and I had no extra shells, like none. So the enemy count I fought wasn't very strong. So if it was a strong one, you would die. Like you probably at least, especially if it's like the air-to-air enemies, they would kill Warbringer so fast, and then they'll kill Warbringer pretty fast. I've seen a P0 mass carrier, so that's an option. Mass carrier also can work pretty well.
That is interesting.
That way you use all the champions that are on the ground to defend against aberrations and stuff, if you get to that point. I used P2 and I just basically attempted a speed run instead of trying to clear the map. I just tried to clear instead of clearing the buildings, I cleared the mission as quickly as possible. I almost died at the end because aberrations are too strong.
Yes, they are. So
the shells, they also get attacked by infested, which isn't really a problem, but they get like pulled out of position.
yeah, they leave the conservator circle.
Too.
How do you feel about on the 7-minute wave? You use the arbiter suit to just kind of buy yourself some more time to get more stuff in place, or at least stasis half the wave, so you only have half a wave to deal with. So it's easier for what champions you have.
That's a good idea. You can do that.
Yeah, I think that's a way to
Also,
kind of help yourself against. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
You really needed the Warbringer and the Mortal heroes if it's air for 7-minute wave. Like, wouldn't just getting more Mojo shells be better? I don't think they would do very much if it's air, at least that early on.
What do you think, Tutu?
I think you would open with Warbringer so you can expand, like clear the expo. You'll Caldalis first, then Warbringer, then Taldarin because he's there. Because Klarian is expensive, and Mojo dies very fast. So I don't know about those two.
Is the fast expand untenable if you go Kaldi to clear it and then Mojo's, especially if you know it's air? Like, I'm thinking priorities here. If your first priority is to survive, and you know that the enemy is air, do you think it's worth changing your build to go Mojo, or do you think Taldarin, or do you think Warbringer is still better even if the enemy is air?
Oh, you can adjust. You should adjust, yes, but I think even after that, it's not good. It's not gonna be a good fight because Fenix against air is not good.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
It's not bad.
I think your best chance is to do the arbiter thing of just stasising half of it, or at least a third of it. Let your guys fight one part and then do the other part after. I think that's the best way to do it.
I also don't think he clears as fast as it sounds because one, the ground enemies, they have 2 lives.
Yes.
2, the infested that spawn there slow you down.
Yes.
A lot. So I put Fenix in B. He's still fine.
What do you think, Zero?
I'm fine with B. He doesn't have a strong defense for sure.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I also had him in B, so let's put in B.
And my outbreak defense for him was just switch to a suit, and then if infested marines are shooting somewhere, just summon the zealot suit, and then switch out to regen energy later when I'm not being hit.
That's a lot of energy. Anyway, let's move on. Han and Horner, where do we have them?
Han and Horner, they are good at clearing buildings from afar, unless they're Terran, because the middle part there'll be too many bunkers.
Yes.
So that's gonna suck. If they're not Terran, then you can actually clear a lot of buildings, and if you know the map, like the southern base doesn't have much detection, so you don't actually need to spend many strikes there. You just get a pair of wraiths and right-click the buildings.
Yeah.
Right-click the buildings, ignore the enemies.
If you can sneak a Galleon on that corner, you can just even drop regular Mirahan units, and they'll do just fine. especially since they don't have any defenses
You
there.
mean the bottom right corner, that 4 o'clock face? I
Oh,
mean like
I meant
the
the
southern
southern
base.
base. Yeah, the one that's
Third
undefended.
hybrid.
Yeah,
The third hybrid area. That area is
you
not.
meant third
There's like
hybrid
one
area
detector, no detectors for Terran, and one detector for Zerg.
for Zerg. So you just snipe that, and then you're. Oh, that's very neat. And the rest, to be clear, we're referring to airstrikes here. Airstrikes would be essential to Hot and Horner because you want the buildings to not be a thing. So the aberrations will also not be a thing. Continue to.
Their problem is they suck against the regular enemies.
Yes.
The hybrid, oh no, the infested, you just need like 2 Hellbats and an SCV to repair them. So that's not a problem. The earlier ones, it's the regular enemies with just die that they just
Yes.
like we have nothing against them.
Hot and
So
Horner just dies.
yeah, I put them in B.
B because their offense is really good. How about you, Zero?
I personally have them in C tier. Like Tutu said, the offense is good, but it doesn't really matter if you're just gonna die to the random enemy sent to Janara. Yeah, it's just about, I guess, surviving until you eventually clear the map. And even then, it's not easy, just because the enemies are still stronger, so you're gonna struggle actually killing them.
That actually sounds fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, that actually
yeah.
sounds fair. Like C is equal contribution, and if your contribution is clearing buildings, that is not within the realm. That is not outside the realm of C tier. What do you think, Tutu?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay,
They suck fighting regular enemies.
that's true. The map itself, and again, just die is their issue. Not outbreak. Just die is the issue for them. So I guess that puts them in C. I still think they're B, but I could definitely see the C tier. Let's move on. Karax, where do we have him?
Karax. So this guy has really good defense. So he doesn't need to clear the map. He can, I guess, for the hybrid, you just like pre-clear the area and set up some cannons there, and then for later on, you just make an army to push. Whether that's carriers or like a robo, either should work.
Okay.
So yeah, outbreak won't be an issue. Just die will, I guess, slightly slow you down, but then you just use 2 solar lances instead of 1. That'll kill the enemies, release the wave. Yeah, and he's definitely not getting overrun by Outbreak, so he's gonna be slow, but I think he's reliable. I have him in like A tier, maybe B.
A tier, maybe B. How about you, Tutu?
Being reliable against Outbreak means that you're not under the pressure of time to clear, which is very, very helpful. And his only problem, I was going to put him higher than A, but his problem is Immortals. So Speed Freaks, Just Die Immortals are insanely powerful, and they will smash your buildings to death. So you
Yes.
cannot have buildings where they're going to go, or the buildings where they are going to go will just be,
Will
a lot
just
of them
die.
will go down every time.
They will just
So
die.
yeah, you can actually, if you know how to clear the map for like building placement, you could like in the first bonus area build a bunch of static defense to fight the third hybrid. So you don't actually have to clear that area. You just build behind them and shoot them from the back. Same with Swann.
Interesting.
And you could do that with the fourth as well. You clear the 4 o'clock area again, and then you just build some buildings, and then you shoot them from the bottom, or like you
Do
shoot them from
they
outside.
do they come down the ramp, or do they just kind of move around while they're
They
while they're
will
getting
try
shot
to
at?
attack you, but again, if they are immortals, you can't do that because if they'll kill you. So if there's something that's not immortals, you can actually defend the third area and just like put monoliths and cannons behind
That's
before
really
23
cool.
minutes.
All right, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I put Karax in A.
All right, so both of you have an A tier. I guess what that means we're putting him in A tier. I am slightly concerned about the Immortals and a little bit about the Aberrations because I did have experience here pre-Prestige where I feel like my cannons were just about to break when we beat the mission. So I think it's fair. A is fair. Let's. Oh wait, prestige wise, do you want third prestige here?
Third.
So you have a
Yeah,
lot
third.
of space lasers. That sounds fair. Let's move on. Kerrigan, where do we have him?
Kerrigan is not very good because she's the one who's gonna take all the hits for a lot of the time. And like because they're faster, you have less room to you have less time to sneak into an Omega Worm. Your Omega Worms are gonna die, so you're gonna lose your positioning since the enemies are so fast. And if the enemy is air, you're in a lot of trouble.
Yes,
So that's not good.
pretty bad.
She also her opening is like bad enough, it's slow enough, and then you have to adjust it so you need like 2 spine crawlers to defend against Outbreak. they come by like 2-minute 30s,
Yes.
2-minute 30.
2-minute 30.
So you need to adjust your build order. It's like basically defending against Void Rifts. And
Yikes.
yeah, so it's not good. If the enemy's air, also not good. So I put Kerrigan. Oh yeah, and immobilization wave only takes out 1 life at most. So yeah,
Yes.
I put Kerrigan in C.
C tier. Okay, how about you, Zero?
Agree with C tier. Yeah, so her early game already like isn't pretty, and then you're slowing it down further. That is just a recipe to die to the 7-minute wave. Yeah, and even once she get past that, she's still not amazing. Like clearing is gonna be, I guess,
A struggle.
not terrible because you have immobilization wave, but it's gonna be slow. So you're gonna have to survive more of the aberration spawns because you're not gonna clear in time.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's just gonna be a drawn out game. She never gets to the point where she's truly good like some other commanders. So I think C is fair for her.
All right, C sounds fair. Let's move on. Nova, where do we have him?
Nova. So she has a better defense at least than Kerrigan. She just drops some marines, I think, and that should hold the first two. Yeah, then the hero that spawns, and that's infinitely better than the Kerrigan one here, I think. Yeah, she has plenty of DPS for the actual life hybrid. If you're P3, then clearing is not really gonna be an issue. You can also go P1 if you want the shotgun and more liberators on the Ravens.
Yeah.
Yeah, the units are good at defending, so she won't be dying. Of course, you don't really want to let it get to aberrations, but her clearing's decently fast, so you shouldn't have to defend that many. I have her like B tier.
B tier. Okay. How about you, Tutu?
I put her in A because with P3 you just focus on clearing the map. You need and the rest of your units will defend against everything else. So you just not Kerrigan, Nova herself just goes around, sabotage drone, nuke the center. The strong center base dies to nukes, and you can actually just nuke it twice if you don't want to fight those enemies.
Yeah.
So
by
yeah,
strong center base, you mean the one where when you push Janara there, it activates the third hybrid, or the one where you push Janara, it activates the last hybrid?
the third one.
The third one. Okay, that's fair.
That one is stronger than the last one.
Yeah, I kind of think that. I just don't have a confirmation because I never see the map in its entirety because I just play. I don't like examine it. But that does sound about right. So you use the nuke twice there. What's the cooldown again for nuke? Like 2.5 minutes?
3.5 minutes.
3.5. It's still really fast. Oh my goodness! Like when I realized that, my mind was completely blown.
When you're still clearing buildings, you don't actually want to use the second one there. You just use it like on another base, but you clear a lot in a.
Yeah.
You basically just keep clearing. Her problem is like because you can't expand early, you have less money to do things.
Yes.
So the early game you kind of have to stay behind, but once you get your expo going, you just put all your units on defense, and Nova will clear.
Okay.
Very very fast.
Let's
I
do
put her
some.
in A.
Okay, you put her in A. I think Zero put her in B. But before we move on, let's do some math. The first nuke becomes available in like 8 minutes. I think it's 8 minutes, right?
8:30.
8:30. So 20 minutes is when the aberrations arrive. How many nukes will you have by then? That's like 11 and a half
15:30,
minutes.
That's 15:32, and then 7 minutes. You
So
have
3
nukes.
You have 3 nukes. So where do you use those 3?
The middle one, the last one, and then probably depending on what the enemy is, you can use it in the enemy's main,
Enemy's main.
the
Oh.
spawn point.
Oh yeah.
The one on the right side.
The one with the ghost academies.
Yeah.
Yes. If it's Terran, like they're really strong. If it's Zerg, they're really weak. So
All right.
depends what.
So
enemy.
38:45. Zeus 38:45. Put the screenshot of those areas there where Nova will use the nukes. 3 of them. There are 3 of them. You have 3 nukes before the aberrations arrive. Those are the spots you want to use the nukes on if you're P3 Nova. Let's move on. Okay. What do you think, Zero? What do you think about A tier?
Yeah, I think A tier's fine. I may have underestimated the P3 clearing speed.
I wouldn't fault you for that because when you're clearing as P3, you basically have 1 unit, and Tutu said all these stay at home to defend. So I'm also slightly iffy about the clearing speed, but if Tutu says it's fine because he did it,
it's dead of no. I didn't do that. I used P1, but that was a long time ago. With P3, you also can do like Dead of Night style, where You
Just
clear the
spam.
detection, and then the banshees right-click the buildings while you go somewhere else.
Oh,
So
that's true for the bottom
whole
base, right?
south,
Yeah,
the whole
the entire
south
south
side
side.
and the bottom right, there are no enemies there. So I mean, no detectors. So I mean, once you clear the detectors, you just right-click all the buildings with a pair of banshees while Nova is at the top or doing other things.
Yeah, that sounds very correct. So the only place where you actually have to focus on is the enemy's main base, the one with the laser drill. That's probably the challenging part, and I guess by the time you reach that base, you probably have a decent-ish army, right?
Yeah, he must like have decent amount of air. And
I'm
there's
cons-
actually
Need
like
like
very
delivery.
little defenders there.
I'm concerned about the factory buildings there, like the Nexus, the hatcheries, like the Ghost Academies. They have tons of health. I don't think they get wiped out by a singular nuke. And the units have double life, so they don't get wiped out by a single nuke either. So you had to kind of spam Sabotage Drone there. I guess with Nova P3, the unit itself just clears out the detectors on the south side, and then Nova herself can just focus all her sabotage drones on the north side. That should do it, right?
Yeah.
Alright.
But beware that if you're using the Banshee tactic, if the enemy is not Terran, they will send detectors to try to spot you. So you have to stay away. If you're concerned about that, then just use Banshees on the bottom right where there are no enemies there anyways. So
Alright.
and use sabotage drones in the third area.
Okay, that's fair. Alright, so what do you think about A, Zero?
Fine, although is the 7-minute wave a problem at all? If it's like Sky Terran?
Yeah, that's the 7-minute wave is also concerning. What do you do with the 7-minute wave, Tutu?
Airstrike and sabotage drone.
If
But
it's
if
air?
it's air, then you pray.
Right.
Isn't that
Sure.
isn't that the
That's the
same?
reason we ranked down Phoenix.
Yeah, that's the reason we ranked down Phoenix. So
He doesn't have
what's the difference?
he doesn't clear. Phoenix doesn't clear. Like even if you survive that, he has nothing that is like redeeming. Whereas Nova completely wins.
Is that good enough?
She feels like he should be between A and B.
We all
That's
She-
only
she's-
if the 7-minute
yeah.
wave is air. Because if the 7-minute wave, if it only has like a few scouts, that's actually not threatening. It's only if it's one of the heavy airs.
Heavy airs, yeah.
Which there are not too many of those.
Oh, by the way, if you're up against Scourge here, I don't think you want to use Liberators. The Liberators will not. The Liberators will take out one life with the Scourge, but the second life will connect with the Liberators. Do you think it's better if you're up against Scourge? Do you think it's better to just go Ghosts or something, or do you think it's Liberators still better? Because Scourge survive the first volley of the Liberators because of just die and Speed Freaks.
Yeah, they're gonna touch your face.
Yes. So do you think Ghosts are better here? If you're up against Scourge.
Not sure actually, because Scourge should have one life, right? So they're just gonna get airstrike or nuked.
No, they have 2
So
lives.
it's
Only
like
banelings don't revive.
Yeah.
So Ghosts.
Yeah, you may
if you're
just
up
want to
against,
go bio then.
yeah.
As your
So
main army.
if you're up against Zerg,
Ghosts.
check the enemy comp. If it's one of the Scourge ones, there are 2 Scourge comps: Devouring Scourge and Explosive Threats. If you see those, Ghosts. So do we go A or B? I think we did Dehaka bottom of A. Maybe we can do Nova top of B and then decide later.
Yeah, I'm
I
fine
guess
with
they're
that.
better Han and Horner in the clearing sense.
Yeah, they're
But-
better Han and Horner with defense. Han and Horner is C tier, so like better Han and Horner is top of B. I think that sounds. Or are you gonna defend? She's definitely A Tutu.
I think she's still good. I don't know about like the airstrike one wave, defense drone, and then you snipe the rest.
That might work. They'll definitely work against little air, but heavy air. The Sky Terran, the Reaper Liberator, the Cyclones and Diamondbacks are really annoying to deal with. By the way, there are some commanders who just can't chase the Diamondbacks,
And they're fast.
and they're fast. I'm already thinking about a couple of guys here. Anyway, I think we table this for later. We put Nova in B for now and then go back later. Top of B. There we go. Well, top of B. Let's move on first. Raynor, where do we have him?
Raynor can fight ground comps decently because of spider mines. If it's air, it's gonna be a lot more difficult. Oh, and also if they have AoE, it'll be a lot more difficult. That's only if your macro is on point as well, and you can't expand quickly. because this map, this
Yes.
mutation. So that's like you have a lot less money to work with.
Can you believe that the first time I beat this mutation, it was with Raynor? The first time I beat this, it was using Raynor. That was before prestigious.
Why?
Yeah. Some would believe that I was a good player back then. Anyway, continue.
So it's basically spider mines plus bio or spider mines plus battle cruisers, and
Yes.
whichever one you're more comfortable with. Although bio will die to AOE and battle cruisers take a while.
Yes.
Either way, I put Raynor in C.
Poor Artanis. What do you think, Zero?
Yeah, I have him like either C or D. He's not really great at any point, but he's also not like completely terrible. He's at least workable. He's just not great, and he doesn't have anything redeeming about him.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so one of them, he's just gonna suffer everywhere.
All right. So C tier.
Yeah,
All right. Prestige wise, you want the third one?
either 0 or 3, I think.
All right then.
Depending if you want to bio or battle cruisers.
But you have to decide before you go in, and if the enemy's just bad luck, you just roll a bad enemy comp, you're just kind of screwed.
Yeah, that's Raynor for you.
That's Raynor for you. Let's move on. Stet boy, where do we have him?
The Stetmann, he has Zerglings that take 10 damage a shot. It's actually going to be 7 by the time you get to 20 minutes, because you'll have armor upgrades.
Yeah.
So aberrations won't be a thing. They also might not be a thing if you just clear the map in time, which he can probably do. Gary
Yes.
just pushes through the enemies. Doesn't matter if they have 2 lives. He just nukes them all with his Igor.
Yes.
Yeah, he's really easy to use because you just make links and then you A move. So that will probably catch the trickles from the spawning pool. With the Zerglings will also just catch Outbreak most likely. So you won't have to leave defenses. Yeah, I think he's just S tier.
What do you think, Tutu?
I was trying to ask my Discord for enemy comps that Stetmann might struggle with, and no one could think of any because I don't think he struggles with any of them.
Yeah, I suggested disruptive artillery, but even then, I don't see that being an issue.
Not for Zerglings.
Just not. Yeah, I put him in S. Easy, clear everything.
All right, I also put him in S tier. S tier is for Stet boy tier. That sounds about right. You want the second prestige here. You want super duper Gary. Let's move on. Stukov, where do we have him?
Stukov. So, what Stukov usually does against with his Diamondbacks is he can kite them using the slime to slow him down, but the enemies have speed freaks, so
Yes.
they're gonna catch up to him. The slime also doesn't come online until later.
Yes.
P3 is bad against most comps, so P1 is actually the better choice. Top bar usage, you have to time it so that it matches the hybrid
waves.
waves or whatever strong attack waves.
Yeah.
Which means that your pushing has to be on point. His clearing is very bad because he has ground. So, well, it's not very bad, but it's not. It's worse than Fenix because Diamondbacks they get killed. They get damaged a lot, and then they don't regenerate HP very quickly.
No.
You can defend against Outbreak with tanks. That's decent.
That will work.
If their aberrations come, I guess you can kind of survive, but you don't want to.
You still make bunkers against. You can still make bunkers with the first prestige.
Yes, but yeah, so Outbreak is not really a problem, but when aberrations come, the bunkers won't last.
Yes.
So, I feel like he kind of depends on what enemy you get, because speedy anti-armored enemies will kill his Diamondbacks. So I put him in C.
C tier. What do you think, Zero?
Is P3 early game really that bad? Because you should have a top bar for each of the waves, and then with the top bar tanking, and then you just having troopers behind that should somewhat hold. Not saying he does it well, but I think he does it better than the C tiers at least.
Later on, when they have AoE, like Archons or Storm, and they have 2 lives, you're gonna run out of time because they're gonna kill you.
Guess so. Is he really that bad at clearing? Because later on, you should just have enough bunkers to not be too bothered by the losses.
The thing is, your trickle gets met with Amon's own trickle, which is aberrations. With double lives, by the way.
I mean, aberrations shouldn't do that well against Marines. I think he's more like B tier. Not sure. I don't think he's as bad as Raynor and Horner. That's what I'm trying to say.
Could be top of C tier. I think he's still equal contribution.
Yeah, maybe top of C tier.
What do you think, Tutu?
I think there are enough comps that give him trouble that he also doesn't have any advantages when it comes to clearing or defending the infested or the regular attack waves. So yeah, it's really dependent on the enemy.
All right, so C tier.
Yeah.
All right, Stukov C tier. We'll arrange this later. Swann, where do we have him?
The Swann, so just like Karax, he has really good defense, so you're not under any time pressure. For clearing, you can also just go Wraiths, which surprisingly clear really fast. But I guess not like super high standards. Yeah, I guess middle base can be an issue, but if you're like P2, you can just concentrate beam it. Or if you're going P1, that will make dealing with the actual enemies a bit easier because your topper won't be one-shotting the enemies anyway with other prestiges, so you can go either of them, I think. So you won't be getting broken through with Outbreak. I think you should be fine against Just Die aberrations with Swann turrets. So it's just about clearing and then killing the hybrid. Yeah, I think he's like A tier.
A tier. What do you think, Tutu?
I think he is better than Karax. That's it. He's like Karax, but better because his concentrated beam kills the entire middle.
Yeah, the entire middle.
The middle. The hardest base.
The hardest base.
Just dies to several concentrated beams. And you have pulse cannons for like the hybrid waves or something.
Yes.
If you plan ahead, you can just camp the hybrid areas with your turrets. Yeah. So A. The only issue again is the Immortals.
Yes. Oh well. Let's put.
That's why he's in S.
That's why he's in S. There we go.
Yeah.
Swann A tier. There we go. Not Bon. He's Awan. Tychus, where do we have him?
Tychus, Lone Wolf is just super good against the regular enemies because even if they have 2 lives, you just throw 2 grenades. He can survive quite a long time. He's not armored or anything. He doesn't take extra damage. Clearing, you also just plow through the enemies pretty quickly. If you use Sam, you can also like throw grenades and just start hitting other things. 3 buildings go down. If aberrations come, Vega can steal some and then have them fight each other, which is cool, I guess. It's not really that scary. Odin nuke also clears the center, so similar to Nova's nuke, except less frequent.
Yeah.
Overall, I don't think he has much of an issue, but he's not like Stetmann, so he's A.
He's A. What do you think, Zero?
Personally, I had him in S tier. The outlaws, like one outlaw on each base should just defend, and then you clear with the rest, with the remaining outlaws. You don't really care about the enemy compositions.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I think he's still S tier.
Are you convinced, Tutu?
When I did this, I couldn't expand because it was hard to defend 2 bases and it was hard to defend 2 bases and clear.
So the early game outbreak is the issue for you because you still needed to clear, but you can't leave the base.
So you need to clear though. Even if it gets to 20 minutes, you should be able to still hold aberrations for a while with like your Rattlesnake probably. He has really fast healing.
I did do this a while ago, so I wasn't as knowledgeable or something about like clearing paths and things like that. Yeah, he is still good. I don't know if he's
S good, right? I like this. This is a lot of people give us trouble for putting commanders in A instead of S, but like A is still really good. I don't think it's that much of a downgrade from S to A. So is Tychus S good or just A good? That's a very reassuring answer.
I don't think.
Okay, so we only need one guy to say that he's not S, for it to not be S, because we have a rule here. If it's not unanimous, it's not S. So if one person disagrees with S, I don't disagree with S, by the way, for the record. I'm fine with Tychus and S, but not a strong S for me.
I guess if there were to be a second S commander, it would be him, not even Zeratul.
Oh.
Not Zeratul.
Okay, so the disagreement does not seem to be strong. So I guess put Tychus in S tier. Let's move on. Vorazun, where do we have him?
Vorazun, so she can clear at least with time stop. For the outbreak, you have a pylon wall, which I mean, if it's Terran, it works fine. If it's not Terran, then that's risky. It just takes one observer to get there, and then that's all ruined.
It's all she wrote.
Yeah. As for the enemies, if it's ground, she's workable. If it's not ground, she's less than workable. Yeah,
That's what I was about to say. She hates
I
flying
think I have her
things.
in C tier, maybe lower.
Vorazun really hates flies. She's like that. Oh, I don't want to say something here. So what letter?
C,
C
maybe
tier.
lower.
Maybe lower. There's no way it's lower than C. But what do you think, Tutu?
Yeah, C is fine because enemy comp matters a lot. Terran easier, not Terran a lot harder. Non-Terran air very hard.
Very hard. There we go. Let's put Vorazun in C tier. Prestige. She has one prestige. It is Keeper of Shadows. If you use any other prestige, you're screwed. Zagara. Where do we have him?
She's actually not very good here because it only works if the enemy is not very strong because banelings often waste their lives on the invincible or like their splash they don't deal any damage because some of the enemies are still invincible.
Yeah, that
from
little
the
annoying
sky.
delay that I talked about earlier. There's a little delay when the enemies don't take damage, but the banelings still explode, so they waste themselves.
Yeah, the clearing, she can clear the undefended areas or slightly defended areas pretty easily because she can deep tunnel there.
Yes.
But then the heavily fortified areas, I don't know if she can even do. She has to like run a ton of banelings, but if there are a lot of enemies there, a lot of AOE enemies there, so it's like you have to sacrifice a lot of banelings to kill a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
Also, banelings will waste themselves on outbreak units if you're not careful. So that also sucks.
I mean, even if you are careful, sometimes it just cannot be helped. You have to use Stefan, the outbreak stuff.
Yeah, and so like if the enemy is air, then that's also bad because she needs to make Scourge. But early on, she has like no money for that,
Yeah.
so it takes a while to get to the point where you can afford like enough Scourge. I put Zagara in I don't know if it's C or D.
Oh, possibly D tier. What do you think, Zero?
So I think C tier. I don't think she's Artanis bad, but yeah, she won't be having a really good time, especially
guy-
like 1 to 10.
That one guy
The-
who loves Artie is gonna have a really bad time looking at this tier list.
I'm just gonna assume you're going P3 here, in which case your Scourge are gonna be way more expensive than with other prestiges, so that's not gonna be good. And even if it's ground, yeah, Banelings, yeah, they're just gonna waste themselves, blowing up on immune enemies a lot of the time, and her clearing's not great either.
Okay, letter.
Yeah, here.
C tier. Still equal contribution, I guess. Zeratul, where do we have him?
Zeratul. So I have him in S tier. He has good defense. He scales really well, and he's not getting broken through. So eventually you'll win. Pretty much like Karax, you're not under much threat. It's just gonna be a slow win most of the time.
Yeah.
Well, unlike Karax, he actually clears pretty fast with his hero unit and some DTs. He can blink around and get the undefended buildings. And then Zeratul just blinks in, kills a defended building inside like the bases, and then blinks out. He does have enough healing for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, at home you just must have like Stalker Sentry or Cadence, and then Monoliths. I believe Monoliths work in a similar way to like Arcturus tanks, where when they
just
stun
stun.
an outbreak unit, and then they just forget where they are and just stand there for the rest of their lives. Yeah. So S tier, I think.
Okay, what do you think, Tutu?
It's weird because when I put monoliths, like I think you need multiple monoliths hitting the same ones because when I used just one monolith, I stunned them and then like they still moved. So
I guess it
maybe
doesn't
only
work.
hit 3 and the other 3 continue moving and then the back 3 saw it and they rushed forward.
Maybe it's
So
that.
you need like multiple monoliths to stun all of them so that they all stop moving. Because if the other half of the group moves, then the first half that were stunned before, they see, hey, my guys see something, so we keep going. The cannons will get overrun, so I think you also need like DTs or something to deal tons of damage to them. In preparation for the level 5 bug, I thought I should try using level 5, and I did this with Zeratul. It was really really hard, but level 5 Zeratul did this. I guess with the P2, like infinitely scaling, or yeah, the scaling, your buildings will get much stronger. Your DTs will also get stronger, and you can use the avatar of essence to demote people, and then they will walk towards your cannons or your base, so that you don't have to fight in their territory.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty helpful. Even if you only demote once and they die, which is not great, but at least they get out of the way. They will leave their base, and then you can just fight them at home.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice.
The Sardath
I
Legion
guess.
also cancels out just die by just, giving the unit to you.
Yeah. Seradat steals their stuff too.
Yes.
I think okay with all that, with all those tools.
Those Zeratools.
Yes, his Zeratools. He
S
can
tier?
be in S. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay. So some unfinished business. So seeing all these commanders where they are, does Dehaka still stay in bottom of A, or does he get demoted to top of B?
I think he can stay.
Yeah, I think he's fine in A.
Okay. Who's the other one? I think it was Nova.
No.
Was it Nova?
I think.
Yeah. Does she go to bottom of A or top of B?
I'm fine either way.
I think here's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's just keep her.
Here is fine. All right. So do we have a double S? No way. Right?
No.
No way. Who's top of S? Stetboy.
Batman.
He's the only one who's comfortably in S. He's the only strong S. Who's second in S?
Zeratul?
Zeratul.
Okay. The Tychus bottom of S. Who's top of A?
Swann?
Oh yeah,
Swann.
I think Swann. And then Karax.
Karax Manx?
Karax.
And then Dehaka bottom of A, like we said.
Yes.
Nova top of B.
Nova.
And then Fenix
Yeah, Phoenix.
or Abathur.
Abathur third.
Abathur. Okay. And then Alarak last.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a healthy pool of C tiers, but I think Vorazun is top of C because she can do cloak walls at least against the
I think Han and
Outbreak.
Horner is better.
Hot and Horner's better.
She's
Clearing-
top of C if it's Terran ground.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like the ability to snipe far buildings is really, really
Useful.
helpful, making the mission easier.
Except if it's against Tehran.
Oh, if you're fighting Terran, you should build your strike fighters at the right main so that they fly from a different angle.
Interesting. All right. So who's second in C?
Kerrigan?
Kerrigan? Yeah, both
Yeah.
Kerrigan and Vorazun
Yeah.
suck against air. And then,
Stukov?
Stukov.
okay.
These three.
Yeah, they all suck.
These three, I don't know where they go.
Well, with these three, I think Vorazun is top of them because she has cloak wall against the outbreak. So that's nice.
Yeah.
I think Raynor
Oh,
at
she
least.
also has time stop.
Yes. Does that push her
Yeah, I
above
think
Stukov or still no?
She has more problems against the regular enemies, which come more frequently
Okay.
than Stukov. Yeah.
So she's below Stukov. We do recognize that Time Stop, Black Hole, and Cloak Walls are really good, but they're not going to address all the other issues, such as the regular waves. Okay, so Raynor at least has defense, I think. The bunkers at least might put him
He has
over.
better late game also.
Yes. All right. Then Artanis stays in D. Do we have combinations of guys who are B or below that when you combine them are better than Tychus on his own?
Han and Horner plus like
Someone.
Alarak.
Yeah, Harenhorn and Alarak, I think.
Because Alarak doesn't clear, but he's strong on the ground, so you just like fight the regular enemies with Alarak plus his overcharges.
Yeah, plus Harenhorn salvage can mean Alarak can revive a lot more stuff. Maybe Harenhorn... Sorry?
Someone good early game and then Abathur. This sounds like the only problem Abathur has.
So Zagara Abathur?
Good work, yeah.
Is it better than Tychus though?
Uh,
Actually,
I mean,
maybe.
it's too-
Yeah, Abathur's
Or base.
late game is really
Yeah.
strong. Abathur's
Because
late
once he
game...
has enough swarm host, aberrations don't do anything.
Yes. So yeah, maybe Zagara and Abathur will be a pretty effective team. Like it's like having an S tier commander when you have the two of them. And Alarak and Harenhorner. Okay, I think that's. Oh wait, Zagara and no. I was thinking.
Also worth mentioning, Hanenhorder Vorazun. Vorazun thrives when it's Terran. Hanenhorder suffers when it's Terran. And the other
Are they
countries also true.
Are they S
I
tier?
don't think it's as good, but I guess it's worth mentioning the synergy.
I guess. Oh wait, how about the classic Zagara and Artanis? The Guardian Shell
No.
on the Zerglings. Doesn't that count essentially as an extra life?
Don't think so.
Don't think so.
Doesn't make them
Your
better. It makes
defense
them,
will still be bad.
it's,
And he can't push
Stalls a
either.
little longer.
Still bad. All right, so that's the tier list for this week. Guys, watch Tutu's channel. I will link it down below. We'll see you guys next time.